He would do anything to get elected, and Paul Keyes convinced him that it was good for his image to appear in the midst of this kind of avalanche, this kind of tsunami of youth and vitality.
He is not president of the United States yet. He is running for president, and that's what he was doing there.
His press people were saying, no, you can't do this, you can't do that. In the meantime, we went over, and I said, just say, sock it to me. Yeah, all right, ready, okay, sock it to me. No, Mr. Nixon, that sounds too intense. Yes, I'm new at this comedy business.
Beautiful downtown Burbank.
We did 6 takes till we finally got the one that we used on the air.
Oh, no. I don't think we could get Mr. Nixon to stand still for a sock it to me.
Sock it to me?
It shook up everybody.
Richard Nixon was not, despite his attempt at comedy that was nothing more than a campaign ploy, a very nice man. Then again, those who didn't like the 37th president of the United States mostly came to that conclusion because Nixon was a product of his environment, a very different political environment, one where backroom dealings were as common as breathing in and out, and where those deals were not only accepted as part of the game, but those who wielded their power without fear or reprisal did so because they knew those little people voters would never understand what it takes to run a country, to lead the free world, to be the man holding his finger on the button. And as long as they didn't know how things worked behind the scenes, they would be all snug in their prefab homes and happy with their 13-inch black and white television set, in front of which would be the latest in dining, the TV dinner. Oh, and the television itself? More nuisance than anything of substance, right? September 26, 1960, Nixon and John F. Kennedy engaged in the very first televised presidential debate. What we take for granted today was truly something remarkable in the time. Part of what made it historic and notable is that the networks were not seeking to staff the questioners with their least informed and most partisan talent, and the questions were all about substance over style. But it was style that stole the day, and television was about to claim its very first political victim. 75 million people watched. Nixon was completely confident that as the vice president at the time, he would soundly defeat the brash New Englander with the wealthy pedigree. But it was not his politics nor his grasp of the issues that did him in. It was that little box with the tubes and wires.
Kennedy arrived tanned, handsome. He was the personification of a matinee idol. At one point, I looked at Nixon on camera, and he looked like death warmed over.
But when you answer, I will cut to that camera so that the home audience is on the Kennedy camera and the home audience is on the Nixon.
And I said to Kennedy, would you like some makeup? And he said, no, I don't want any makeup. And Nixon overheard that. Nixon needed makeup. Kennedy didn't. So he said, gee, I don't think I want any makeup either. He needed it.
Mr. Vice President,
Richard Nixon would never forget how the television camera destroyed his political dream.
Had Nixon worn makeup that night, he might have won that debate. Now, that's a terrible thing to ponder, that a man running for President of the United States runs his ship aground over pancake makeup.
we are for programs in addition, which will see that our medical care for the aged is much better handled than it is at the present time.
The Republican leadership has opposed federal aid for education, medical care for the aged. I think Mr. Nixon...
Kennedy's advisors learned a new commandment. The television image is the key to molding public opinion.
Nixon ended the war in Vietnam. He was the first American president to go to China. He believed power belonged in the hands of the people at the state level instead of inside that devilish beltway. But he lied to America, and thus he did pay the price. Television and style could not save him when everyone knew this emperor had no clothes whatsoever. It would seem our evolution as a society has made that statement meaningless, perhaps proving that, politically speaking, in choosing and retaining our leaders and in allowing ourselves to remain lemmings to the sea of bias, we as voters have failed to evolve at all, and that is telling it like it is. Next hour, coming up here on MidPoint, syndicated talker Jerry Doyle talks on everything on what's cooking in the news right now. Plus, we do have to look at what the president has done in Iraq. Friday means the political punching bag. That means, of course, we get to laugh at these politicians. And we need it at the end of every week. And the Ebola debate spreads faster than the disease itself. All that and more coming up on MidPoint, where every day we question everything.